Honorable Dr. Anito Leonardo.
I'm Honorable Thomas Dud.
I am Kim Guy.
I'm Mukulia Kennedy Ayason.
Dr. Wade Jeremiah.
I'm Honorable Gideon Gatpan,
a member of Yala.
a member of Yala,
A member of Parliament representing South Sudan.
Member of the East Africa Legislative Assembly.
It's an assembly of 59 members. South Sudan membership in the East African Community came to force in 2016. Today, as the sixth member of the community, South Sudan delegated 9 legislators to the East African Legislative Assembly, an obligation of its membership to the East African Community.
One thing we must understand is since South Sudan became a member of the East African Community, a lot has happened.
The integration agenda is also being implemented, and that is why you could see us here, the 9 members representing the Republic of South Sudan being a part of the East African Legislative Assembly.
There was a roadmap that was developed for the full integration of the country into the East African Community. Within the roadmap, there are a number of things that are supposed to be done, and they're supposed to be done both by South Sudan and the Secretariat itself.
This move to the citizens back home has not received enough support. The benefits of joining the East African Community is still a question despite the bloc's support towards South Sudan's independence.
we are fully members of the East African Community, but we, in terms of implementation and operationalization of protocols and also some instruments, legal instruments, we are behind a little bit, just because when we acceded and joined the EAC, then we had also some challenges back home. Then priorities somehow changed, because the peace agreement now is something of priority for the country.
It's now 6 years with South Sudan flag in the East African Community's headquarters in Arusha, Tanzania. Juba is left entangled by controversial arguments, with the critics unsatisfied on the political status of South Sudan in the East African Community.
It's not only the community to integrate South Sudan. South Sudan has also to take some part of it. And now they started by the custom union, which the community has taken a step towards that, and South Sudan itself. You find that right now we have a one-stop border post in illegal anomaly, which is being constructed. And there are many things we have now. Even in Mombasa, we have officials.
It's gradual, it takes time. It's not something that you begin to see in 1 year, 2 years. It takes time. Even when you look at the other partner states, Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, who have been members twice during the first East African Community that collapsed, and after revival, which is now 20 years, you find that there are a lot of integration issues that they are still negotiating, that they are still trying to address, and things are changing very fast.
Although the country already has a special consideration in the Custom Union Protocol, which includes free movement of persons in the region, this isn't also building a positive argument towards the East African Community in South Sudan.
There are issues that countries need to work out first to be able to harmonize laws and then also domesticate laws for that matter. So those ones, they cannot be done overnight, and it needs a period. And that period, it requires only consistency and efforts to make sure it happens when a commitment is given.
The major benefit, which is the core, which is in the area of movement of person and good, is also at the stage of 60% of the implementation. Why I say this is because there is an ongoing free movement of person. And last year, we were able to implement, as the summit directed, the 6 member states to implement this agenda. That one is clear. So you can now freely, as a citizen of the East African community, move freely.
In this era, if you are not in a block and you are just in isolation, it really doesn't work very good for any country or any partner state. You have to be in a regional bloc or in an international bloc, and South Sudan has seen it better for it to join the East Africa, and that was a wise decision from our President, General Salva Kiir Mayardit, His Excellency. And I think South Sudanese shouldn't regret that, because it's where we fall geographically. We have historical, we are joined historically also with this region, but the benefits we are getting also, the benefits in education.
The Treaty for the Formation of the East African Community requires annual remittance of over $8 million to support the operation of different institutions of the community by partner states. This is considered as a commitment. Partner states are obliged to enjoy shared facilities in the East African community, especially infrastructure of partner states like roads, ports, without paying any taxes.
In international organizations like EAC, everything is done through negotiation. You must be present when people negotiate their interests. So you must be present when people design an objective to be implemented, so that your interest is reflected. The moment you see your interest is not reflected, you have to raise your voice and be able reasonably to be able to give a justification why it is important for this kind of benefit to be taken to the people of South Sudan. So be it in terms of employment, be it in terms of resource allocation, be it in terms of infrastructural allocation, in terms of infrastructural projects, be it in terms of coordinating regional conflict resolution mechanisms, all those ones we are there.
This 8 million which are being paid as a member fees for the community, it is funding activities of the community, not the project. Activities of the community, paying members of the parliament, paying judge of the community, paying other organ staff. But the main project that are being funded by the EAC is come from donor fund. We have many projects that going like more than 5 to 6 billion US dollar are funding by East African community. We have a lot of projects. Even the road from Nadafal to Juba are under review from Minister of Road and the Office of the Secretary General of the East African community to be in infrastructure by the community. So there are a lot of projects that are funding through the East African community. This little amount we are paying is just only for the participate the activities of the community.
You know, when you join an international organization, an intergovernmental organization like this, one is that you pay this money for your sovereignty to be recognized internationally. You just don't pay the money because of the benefits that you're looking at. One invisible benefit that you need to look at in terms of integration, in terms of joining international, how you negotiate your matters in that international organization. And for you to negotiate your matters and be part of a club of other nations, you have to pay the cost for it. So this payment itself is in terms of the sovereignty of the country, how the country stands in terms of its phase in the international community. This money we are paying could have less effects. We are paying 8 million. For instance, the one-stop border post that was constructed at Inimule, how much did it cost? It costed more than the 8 million that we are supposed to pay. There are other projects in the regions that are supposed to help the country. For instance, the infrastructural projects. The infrastructure projects are part of the integration agenda. Some roads are supposed to be constructed, especially in the northern corridors. Those roads will cost millions of dollars. It's less than the 8 million that annually we pay. However, we have to know that in order for you to be able to get those benefits, you should be able to.
You know, I want to bring to the attention of South Sudanese again and again, the East African Community is an intergovernmental organization that have agreed to cooperate on very specific areas like areas of economy, politics, security, services, culture, social issues, defense. These are areas where people have agreed to cooperate. It is not like East Africa has agreed to give us something. We have agreed that combined together, when we link better, the benefits will come, things will be easier, things will be cheaper. So you can't in monetary benefits say, in monetary terms says, because we are a member of East African Community, we'll get this much money. We can only talk about saving money, making services easier, being able to access ports easily, being able to access services like education easily, being able to access health services easily.
In several debates tabled in the Regional Assembly, South Sudan has featured among the most defaulting members, with the higher arrears yet to be paid.
So our people should not look into it that when we pay 8 million, it's not worth it because we don't get benefit. We are getting benefit. Again, in terms of economic infrastructure, by the way, infrastructure now is key in trying to jumpstart our economies and also to lift our economies to a certain level so that we deal with the challenges of poverty and everything else. You know, infrastructure is very good. With the EAC as a bloc mobilizes funding from big institutions like African Development Bank, World Bank and everything else, other partners like European Union, and then it engages with the partner states to be able to take big developmental projects to those countries.
You pick what you would want to implement in your partner state. An example of agriculture sector, infrastructure, etc. But being a bloc, we are not depending on the 8 million, because 8 million, if you multiply by 6 member states, it can't do anything anyway. But we have partners in the community. This is where the East African Community, through the Secretariat Solitude, mobilize our partners to contribute to the community. And that this is where we got money to implement huge projects like roads, like education, agriculture sector, tourism, all those kind of things. It is not that the East African community depending on the 8 million, which is an annual contribution from the each partner state. It can't do anything. So I would want to tell even my people from Republic of South Sudan, 8 million is nothing to the community. Even if we can be able also to pay fully, it can't do much. But that one, it touched the commitment of the country as one of the member states.
In arrears, South Sudan now we are almost 39 million US dollar arrears, but the commitment from our government that they are going to pay it, because the priority now is to implement the peace agreement. Once the peace agreement has been stable and the stability of the country, the economy will be recovered, which has been destroyed by the war. So we wish that as soon as possible for this financial year 2022 and 2023, which is going to start in July, the government will prioritize to pay the regional obligation, not only ESC, other region and other international organization, and as well as the Minister of the Foreign Affairs in the country.
We will begin seeing monetary benefits in only one or two ways. The one thing is we are landlocked. We don't have access to ports except through Mombasa and through Dar es Salaam. Let's say if we are not a member of East African Community and we are not aligned with the system, one thing is, as a non-member, will attract a fee. It could be, a charge on imports, like could be 100%, which may be much less now because we are members of East African Community. And that tax that will be levied on a non-member will be reflected in costs of transportation and costs of trade in goods.
South Sudan representatives have always defended the country's position of delayed remittance and seeks for a special consideration despite a call for suspension.
We don't want to milk a cow that we are not feeding. This will never solve anything. And South Sudan doesn't have the culture of being fed. South Sudan doesn't have the culture of being looked at as people who cannot do things for themselves.
So I was suggesting that instead of sanctioning country, and this one might not pass at the level of the council or ministers, might not pass at the level of the summit, what should be done is really to look for alternative ways. And we have said it in this parliament many times that why don't you really get from the import the contribution of each country to the East Africa community. Now that thing has not worked. So I was saying that it is not a question of really expelling a country or sanctioning a country, but to really get this money, because it is not much money, you can get from the import of that country.
South Sudan are committed to pay the money in the higher level, but the situations where we are now, it is a difficult situation. So honorable members, don't look back today for South Sudan, we are bad, but looking the situation where we are now.
We were brought here as legislators. Other sectors within the community have their responsibility. So let us stop bringing this up as a motion when we know very well that the Council of Ministers has a duty. The treaty is very clear. Bring it to the summit. Let the deck fall where it may. If it means that a member state has to be suspended, or if a member state decides that they're going to withdraw, then be it. Instead of us being put under this pressure, it is unnecessary, and I don't think it serves any purpose. Treaty is clear. Let's just follow it and let the deck fall where it may.
Although South Sudan's position was distantly threatened with the sanctions and suspension, this isn't a way forward, as in the treaty, and it's a pledge that has to come. with time.
The partner states which wish to withdraw from the community shall during this period of the 12 months referred to in paragraph 1 of this article continue to be liable to discharge her obligations under the treaty. One of the obligations is payment. And I think if we are pulling, we will have to pay whatever we owe to the community. Because right now, the community really has been, the way they deal with South Sudan, because they know what we are going through, I think it's also to be appreciated, because the treaty say here that after the 18 months of joining the community, if you are not contributing, you have to be suspended. And I think till now, there's nothing of like suspension, which has come that the community want to suspend South Sudan, no.
However, you should be able to fulfill certain obligations, including clearing all your financial obligations that you owe. Pulling out is not a solution. In fact, if there are more organizations, the country should be able to join, because your neighbors are your keepers. So you don't know what happens if you pull out, because easily they can plan against you. And if you have an invasion, your neighbors can help you. So pulling out right now is not the solution. But of course, the provisions are there for pulling out, and you can pull out, then you have a problem when you wanted to rejoin, especially when you now feel you're ready, but then the procedures might be very difficult for you to rejoin, and it's very dangerous. There are no countries in this world. The world is now globalized.
We should learn from what happened when Britain wanted to withdraw from EU. It will be the same. It will not be easy. Now that we have become a member, even if we want to withdraw, we still have to pay the $40 million we owe. That is part of the arrangement. If we choose to withdraw, it would mean we have to deal with our landlocked situation in a different way, because once we are not members of East African Community, we have to renegotiate how we can access Mombasa, how we can access the port of Dar es Salaam without being members. So South Sudan can, but I don't think it will be a good idea. It will not be saving money, but it will be actually cutting short a journey that we started, and there will be benefit at the end of it. That's how I look at it.
The importance of the East African Community.
not a statement.